What is up, everybody? Welcome back to Simple C10. I am back from the dead. It has been like 2.5 weeks. Had a week and a half of sickness and then a week of snow where I was just with my son because he had snow days. And I am back at it. And guess what? This is the first day back in the shop. And I've got the garage door open because somehow, some way, last week it was 30 degrees all week and snowing, but this week in Tennessee, we've got 60-degree weather and the birds are chirping and I just have new life to me, finally getting over this sickness, and I'm ready to hop back on this truck. It has been just eating at me that I haven't made more progress. You guys know me, you know I like to stay busy, get to work, make some progress. Well, life happens too. Had to take care of the family. The weather wasn't cooperating, but now it is time. And on today's episode, we're going to be taking these control arms off of here and installing the VelaWorks Torsion Bar Delete Kit. First time I've done this, so we about to mess around and find out today, but the team over at VelaWorks has sent me the Torsion Bar Delete Kit. We've got the straight notch for the back and the rear do-it-yourself slam kit. Got everything that we need for the budget portion of this build. So the first thing that we're gonna do, I've had to look up how to take these torsion bars off of here. There's a couple bolts right here that you have to loosen up to take the tension off the torsion bars. I've been coming in here and spraying them with some PB Blaster, and I'm not even gonna get into the sandblasting situation that I had last week. There was one day that it was like 40 degrees and I said, I'm gonna go buy this Harbor Freight sandblaster and I'm gonna try to sandblast this frame. I bought the right material that you need and it just wasn't working that great. Some of the stuff on the front of this cross member, you can see right here, some of the stuff on the front of the cross member was 2 or 3 inches thick, and the sandblaster, a small one, wasn't working. Once I scraped some of the bigger stuff off, then some of the smaller parts of the frame, or just the kind of metal parts, were sandblasting pretty good. Let me flip this around, I'll show you. Like some of the areas were sandblasting and cleaning it up, but this thick stuff right here was not blasting off. That was where I just took a wire wheel. So after spending about 8 hours trying to clean this frame, sand everywhere, fogging up the mask, it was just a whole situation. But after spending some time doing that, I thought, why am I wasting all this time to try to make this factory crossmember look good? And the reason for that is I just wanted the video, I wanted the frame to look really good while I was installing the Torsion Bar Delete Kit and all that stuff. But reality is, as soon as I show you guys how to do the torsion bar delete, I'm pulling out this old cross member and control arms and all that stuff and putting on all new Porterbuilt arms. So I thought I spent enough time trying to clean up the frame. I'm just gonna show you guys how to do the delete kit and make sure you guys know how to do that. That way you can save some money if you don't wanna buy a drop member or swap out the cross member. But that's where we're at. That's why you'll see part of the control arms, part of them have been sandblasted. I did try to sandblast the upper and lower ball joint nuts. That way I can get those off of there. So hopefully that helped. So I wasted enough time trying to sandblast it, and I'm just gonna get the front done and then pull the cross member off and put the Porterbuilt drop member on there. Before I start ripping this thing apart, I do want to just give you guys a close-up. If you've never had a 60 to 62, this is what the drum brakes look like, and the spindle right here. This is where the tie rod went in there, but you can see there's no spring right here. The torsion bar that goes into this hole right here that goes down, all it is like a key. It goes in there, and then when you crank down on the torsion bar on the cross member, it puts pressure to open up the control arm. If I relieve some of the pressure from the cross member, it will actually drop the truck about 3 inches. So you can lower these trucks by loosening the torsion bar bracket right here. See how there's a long threaded section sticking out of the cross member? Under that is a nut, and it's basically just a pressure suspension. So when you unbolt that, slide it down, it's going to lower the truck. And for us to take out the torsion bars, what we're gonna do is I'm gonna jack up the front of the frame to relieve the pressure. You wanna get the front two wheels off of the ground so the control arms are leaning down. That will relieve some of the pressure on the torsion bar cross member. Then when you take those nuts and bolts off of there, then everything will be loose. And I'm hoping that the torsion bars just pull out of the little hole right here. I'm hoping that this just pulls right out once we relieve the pressure, but my luck, they're not going to. If it gives me a bunch of trouble, all you have to do is cut this with a grinder or a Sawzall. Just cut it flush, because that tube stays in there and the drop pocket welds to the middle of that. And I'll go all over that whenever we get to that point. First, jack it up, get the torsion bar out of there, then unbolt the upper and lower control arm, because we need to get this lower control arm out of here so we can install the VeloWorks Torsion Bar Delete Kit. Whew, that was a lot of words and things, but I'm excited to show you guys this. I love doing stuff for the first time, even though in my mind it's kind of like, oh, I hope I do it right. It's fun to just figure it out, right? And the good thing is about this truck is I can go into this with no experience installing the Torsion Bar Delete, and talked with Walter from VeloWorks yesterday, and he kind of explained a couple little tips. I watched a video online. There's one video on YouTube that shows you how to do this. It's a 3-part series, so thank you to the gentleman that recorded that. But I'm gonna try to take his 3-video series and wrap it up into this one video. That way, if you're doing this delete kit, you can watch this and have confidence that you can install it. If you're familiar with the VeloWorks front do-it-yourself slam kit for the 63 to 72, there's an upper bag bracket that you just mount to the upper cross member, and then a cup that you weld into the bottom control arm. And that's basically the same thing that we're doing today with a couple more brackets to hold in the cup. Because with the control arm hollow in the bottom, like this, you see that it's hollow. We need something when we put the cup in there to weld to the sides to hold the cup in the center. And that's gonna be it. I know you guys are probably like, dude, start it already. I'm tired of hearing you talking, but I've got a couple more things to share because it's really important. If you're new to the channel, all the parts that I talk about today, the delete kit and the Porterbuilt stuff, all that is on my website, simpleC10.co. That is how this channel is supported, is just by the part sales on that website. I don't sell my parts anywhere else except that website. So if you see them on eBay or any other website and it has Simple C10 on there, that is not supporting me. I partner with a lot of different companies and they do sell Simple C10 stuff on their own website. And of course we want to support them, but a way to support both of us is by purchasing it through my website. And whenever you do, you get me to answer questions, or if you need to call or FaceTime or whatever you need, whenever you buy parts from my website, I'm the customer service rep. I'm the builder, I'm the recorder, I'm all the things Simple C10. You got my personal number. It's on Instagram if you ever have any questions. I talk to people all day, every day, and I love it. I wouldn't change it for anything. I appreciate you guys' support on the videos, sharing, liking, posting on the Simple C10 Facebook page or the Instagram page. All that stuff matters. You guys are the reason that I love to do this. You guys are my community, and I just appreciate it. So here is the Torsion Bar Delete Kit. It's gonna come with 2 of these upper bag brackets. These are gonna go on your cross member. These look just like the 63 to 72 besides this little cutout right here. And that's because the cross member has a stamped spot right here, and this allows this to bolt up flush with your upper cross member. It's gonna come with your hardware for the upper bracket, and then also for your ball joint. Your ball joint is gonna bolt in to here in the middle. I'll show you that later. But all the hardware, grade 8 hardware that you need for that. The cups right here, these are the same style as the 63 to 72 cups. They are the widest cup that you can get inside diameter. I know a lot of people sell these cups, but they're usually 8-inch on the inside, and it's just not enough room for a 2600 bag. I think these are 8 1/4, but just that extra 1/4 of an inch gives the bag a lot more movement in it. But we will weld this into the lower control arm. We'll weld the bottom part in there. These have 2 drain ports on them. That way, if any water or moisture or anything gets in here, it will drain out the bottom and won't just sit in there with your air bag. One of the big differences in the torsion bar delete are these 3 pieces that you're gonna get to hold the cup in and to hold your ball joint. So these are gonna mount, this one's gonna go on top of the control arm, just like this right here, and weld in, and the middle of your ball joint will bolt to this. There's a little spacer that comes with the kit. On the bottom side, you have one of these, and this is gonna slide around the cup just like this and weld to your lower control arm to hold the cup in there correctly. And then this little back piece will actually go onto this piece. It will weld to this and then weld to that round tube just to give it extra support. They've thought of everything to make sure this thing holds as much weight as you can fit in the truck and to keep it as simple as possible. This kit is very straightforward. We're just gonna cut out the lower control arm a little bit where our pocket fits in there, tack it into place, tack these brackets into place around the cup, and then you'll just burn everything in and you're good to go. Once that's done, we'll put the bag in here, we'll bolt it to the upper bag bracket, jack up the lower control arm, and make sure this matches up with the upper cross member exactly where it needs to go. Clamp this in, you drill 4 holes in the top, and then you bolt this upper bag bracket with the supplied hardware, and then that's it. Very straightforward, very easy. So to find these on the website, it's really easy. You can go to shop by year, 60 to 62, you'll see this kit. You can also go by categories, and if you go to air ride suspension, you'll see this. But my website has a really good search feature, so click on the little search icon at the very top of the website and just type in torsion, and then boom, it'll pop up. That's the easy. If you're ever shopping on my website and want to find something, the search feature is awesome. I've went in and put in as many keywords as I can to help you guys find exactly what you're looking for. I don't want my website to be somewhere that you go and you just can't find anything. I've spent a lot of time on categorizing each part for the year and to make everything simple. We're gonna start off by jacking up the front cross member. You want the wheels to be hanging, because if the torsion bars aren't twisted enough, you have to unbolt the lower control arm and then push down on the lower control arm to relieve the final little bit of pressure. I've read that it doesn't like come flying out like a normal coil spring or anything like that. That's one thing I was a little bit worried about. Anytime you're messing with springs or anything with any kind of resistance, you want to make sure that you're not going to hurt yourself. It's the first time I've actually had big enough jack stands to lift something up this high, but these 6-ton from Harbor Freight, I picked those up just for this build. And I actually like that these have this little pin that you can put in them so it doesn't come flying down on you. So I think that's gonna be good. So here's what we're working with. You see this part right here? When it's screwed all the way in, this little bracket is putting pressure on that. So it's twisting this way in the same way that a socket fits over a nut and then you twist it and it puts pressure. That is the same way for that. So the tighter this is like this, it's twisting that lower control arm to get suspension. So when I loosen this right here and the pressure begins to go down, that is twisting this bar like that, that will lower the truck. That's why you can undo this as far as that thread will go, and you can lower the front of these 60 to 62 trucks by just loosening up the torsion bars. But what I'm gonna do is just unbolt this as much as I can. I'm gonna be cognizant of the pressure on here, but I'm hoping I can just unbolt this all the way down. This will come sliding around a little bit, and then everything will be just hanging and loose. But we'll see if it works like that. I've been spraying PB Blaster on those threads for like a week anytime that I walk in here. So I hope that it unbolts easy. If it does, I can unbolt this. Then I'll probably go ahead and unbolt this torsion bar cross member, get all of that stuff out of the way, and move to the front. I'm done wasting time on it. Back to plan B. I'm just gonna cut that torsion bar right at that control arm, unbolt that cross member, and trash it. I know some of you are probably like, no man, that's worth some money. Yeah, it is, but it's not worth my time right now. If I spent another hour or two on it, I would be frustrated and I would just cut it anyway. Whenever you're going to disconnect the upper and lower ball joint, leave your nut on the edge just a little bit, because if we take it off, we hit the bottom and this disconnects. Then when we go to hit the top, it's just gonna keep flopping. There's no resistance against it. So I like to leave those on a little bit, hit the control arm to pop it, then it'll be loose, and the same for the top. I saw both of them pop. So sometimes when you do this, now the whole bottom ball joint is spinning. You've got to apply a little bit of pressure to it as you zip it off there. Take a pry bar or something. There you go. Whoa. We've got this side ready to remove the upper and lower control arm. It's hard to see through all the mesh right here, but one of the differences in this control arm and the 63 to 72 is this is a flat bar. It's not round like the other one. And there's bolts that go through the top with a nut on the bottom side, where the other ones you've seen me use are a U-bolt that slides over the cross shaft and bolts up top. So hopefully I can clean this up enough to get a wrench on this with a drill up top and get the control arms off of there so we can clean them up and put the torsion bar delete kit. I'm gonna go ahead and pull off the top here too, try to clean some of that mess up, and we'll be installing that upper bag bracket right here. As you can see, this looks different as well. This is the little stamp I was talking about, the cutout part. So we will make a line here and we're gonna cut out almost like a triangle shape there so we can mount the upper bag bracket and be able to bolt it in. But I'll go over that in just a minute when we get there. We're still getting all this old junk off of there, making a mess, but having fun. So one of the things that I'll do is these shims that are already in the control arms, I'll always tape those together and mark them driver side left, driver side right. That way when you go to put it together, this is a good starting point to know where it's aligned at, and you can always take them out or put them in depending on what your plan with the truck is. Usually these aren't loose like this. That's the first time I've seen these loose, but they slide in from the back side, which is very interesting. I don't know if I've ever noticed that. So I'm gonna actually take those out for now so it'll make it easier to clean this up, because I need to clean up the whole area, because I'll be taking off this whole cross member after we're done with the torsion bar delete. So I'm gonna flapper wheel, wire wheel, just clean this up just to be able to unbolt it easily. Boom, that's it. So I've just been spinning these a little and it breaks the dirt loose on the bottom, then putting the wrench on it down there. Harbor Freight welder table, I got it for $150. I just needed something that I could weld on in here. All my other tables are the stainless stuff, so I don't want all the welding slag stuff to get on there. So we're gonna get those onto this welding table and begin to install all the torsion bar delete stuff. This is the first time I've done the torsion bar delete, so we're gonna learn together. I talked to Walter on the phone from VelaWorks and he explained the process a little bit, looked at a lot of photos, but I will give you my honest feedback about it. Whenever we go to install these, I'm gonna go over all the options that you have on the front of these 60 to 62 trucks, because you can swap out the cross member, you can go with a drop member, you can do the torsion bar delete. You have a lot of options on these trucks, and I wanna bring some clarity onto how you do that and what all your options are. That way you can choose the best route to go for you. I'm gonna clean up these arms a little bit. I tried to hook back up the sandblaster, man. It's a piece of junk. It won't even, it stopped up. It's like the third time, and I've tried different sands and I've got the thinnest stuff in there. I'm just not happy with the sandblaster, so I'm gonna move on and clean up this just a little bit more. Again, we're just trying to clean it up enough to weld in those pockets, and these aren't going back on the truck. I have all new Porterbuilt stuff, so clean them up. We've got to grind off this bump stop right here, and then we can start to put the cup up there and make some marks and cut it out. So basically what we're gonna do is take this bump stop bracket off. We're gonna leave the ball joint in right now because we'll use that to align the cup. And we're gonna take the cup, it's gonna go up against this, sit down in here, and then we're gonna cut the top of this to set it down, then make a mark on the bottom. That way the cup goes all the way through the arm, and then we will tack it into place on the bottom side. We'll tack it right here. We'll tack it on the bottom, and then we'll weld everything in. Come, it's a lot easier. There we go. There we go. Look at that. There we go. Got the bump stop off. I'm gonna clean this up just a little bit with the flapper wheel. I'm gonna go ahead and actually take this shock mount off right here just to get it out of the way. Now it's the time to get these cups welded in here. So the way that we're going to do that, the main reference point is the back torsion bar tube. We want the cup to be all the way against that because we're going to tack the cup into that once it's dropped in. This cup is going to drop through the top and then actually through the bottom as well and stick a little bit below the bottom. But we're going to go ahead and mark this where we need it. I'm just centering it up, kind of where I think it should go. Centered with right here. And the top we can cut out a little bit wider than what it actually needs to be because the cup won't be tall enough to weld into the top. So we just need to cut a big enough hole for the drop pocket to fit in there. So what I'm going to do is just trace right here, just trace around the edge right there, trace around this edge, and then that will give me my cut lines right here. And I'm going to go a little bit on the outside of that, that way there's a little bit of wiggle room that the cup can easily drop in there, because we'll want to drop it in there. Then we need to mark the inside down here and cut the bottom of the control arm. We'll flip it over and do the same thing to the bottom. I'm going to give you guys some reference lines from the holes here and just some different measuring points to make sure you have it. But I'm also possibly going to make a template to cut out where the cups go in this. So if I can lay a piece of paper on here and design it on the computer and then print out where the template will allow you to know exactly where to cut, I plan to do that. It may come later on. If you're watching this video, it may not be done yet. So if you measure up and the distance from outside to outside is 12, if you didn't already have this marked, what you could do is just put a little mark here, put a little mark here where it crosses, and then that's where your drop pocket would meet up with the frame. So you could move it up, and that's where the drop pocket would touch the frame and mark it there. If you're measuring, just say from this hole, from the back of the hole up to where it marks, it's right at 4. From the back of the hole to where the frame, it's right at 4. So if you go on the back side of the hole this way, measure from there to there, that's 4 where it crosses. Again, I just kind of held it up there, I centered it, and then I made sure the cup was on the back. And again, I'm going to cut this bigger than it actually is to drop in there. I'm going to go ahead and cut this, that way I can drop it in there and we'll keep making progress. Haven't used these yet. I've got all these small discs that screw in to your angle grinder right here, like this. These are from Benchmark abrasives, and these are the ones that have the round edges or the small, and this will actually work really good. First time I've used these. Test it out. Perfect. That's what we wanted. I made it just a hair bigger than what it needed to be, and that was just the little movement that I needed, because remember, it's not going to weld in here. It's going to weld in at the bottom with the bracket and the lower arm. So
This cleaned up really nicely. I love these, but this looks great. So now it's time, we're gonna kind of center this arm up, and then I'm gonna mark the inside where it needs to be cut. So push that all the way against there, center it, and then this is gonna be more of a mark it smaller and grind it out bigger, because we want a tight fit from the cup from here and the cut that we make on the bottom. That way I kind of have to tap it and it's all held in place. I love when it's like that. That way I can tack everything in and it's solid and there's not big gaps that we have to fill. What you'll do, lay the control arm on the pocket and then align the pocket right with the flat piece right here where it would line up. And then from the top, just kind of draw lines of the contour of where the pocket would be. The lines that I had before that I made were really close, but they're just a little bit smaller than what I needed. So I need to go a little bit on the outside of those. Just like that. And then, all right, I think this one's actually good. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut this. I laid that on there and used the marks to give me where the edges of the cup will meet and aligned it with right here. And that allowed me to get some kind of cut line on the bottom side of it. It's time for the cup. Not as tight as I wanted, but it should give us a little bit of a gap to weld to fill it up to really make it solid. So overall, there we go. That's what we wanted. This part goes on the bottom, like this right here. It's gonna mount to the cup, just like this. It will slide in, and then this will weld to the actual cup. And then this back brace will go on the tube right here and weld onto the tube and then onto the actual bracket at a little bit of an angle. The next step is tacking in this front piece. So this is the piece that's going to weld onto here, and then you're going to drill a hole and bolt in your new ball joint whenever you get it. So the way we determine where this goes onto the control arm is I've got this flat on a table, just flat on the table with the nuts and everything on here, just completely flat. And I'm gonna put this cup and let the cup sit all the way flat on the table. And this is gonna get me close to where I want it. But whenever you put this piece on the top, you'll want to center this hole with the ball joint so you can drill a hole and bolt it in. And then just line up this with the top of the cup. And you'll notice there's a little bit of a gap right here. Once we get this piece tacked in where it goes, then we can pull up the cup and weld the cup in where it goes. So what I want to do on this is actually not make this perfectly lined up right here. I want to pull it back just a hair. That way I have a space where I can do a corner weld. When I pull this up, there's a corner that I can weld to and grind down. I'm going to show you from the top view right here. You can see that there's a little bit of a crease. We'll tack this in first, and then we'll pull that cup up to make a weld there, and we'll tack that into place. I've got the cup pushed all the way against this. We want to make sure that's there so we can tack that in place when it's time. And then I've got this here. You want to take in account when you pull that up. I think that looks great. I was thinking that maybe you could go by these two holes right here, but it's really going to be determined by how you made your cuts. So I don't want to tell you to put this little bracket centered with the holes, which it looks like that's where mine's going to be, but then your cut down bottom doesn't line up. So use your cup and position this the way that you need to, the way that you made your cut. It should be close to centering these holes right here. This is close to being centered in the ball joint and then centered with these two holes right here. But I'm going to go ahead and get the welder going and just tack this in a couple places, and we'll go ahead and knock that step out. Now that we have this front piece tacked into place, we can flip the control arm over and we can let the edge of this rest on here and adjust the back. You've got this bracket. This will go ahead and get welded in. We'll go ahead and burn everything in once it's all tacked up. And then you've got your back side right here. It's about halfway down on the tube on the flat spot. So there's a flat indentation right there. Weld that in. And then we're going to flip over the control arm and do all of the bottom side stuff now. And you'll notice whenever you get to the bottom part right here is the cup sticks lower than the frame. You can see right there, it is about 1/4 of an inch and it's at an angle. You'll notice that the cup is not flat to the arms, and that's on purpose because whenever the arm goes up, it keeps the direction of the bag correct. So if you mount the front like I did, weld that into that bracket, tack in the back side halfway down the tube, then you'll get the right angle. First, on the bottom side right here is going to be this bracket. So this bracket is just going to press into the cup just like that. It's cut just to fit in there nicely. We're going to align the back side right here with the tube. So just look at it, twist it around till it's flat with the tube, because this piece right here is going to go on the tube and then on to that bracket just like this. And that's going to really give this thing a lot more support. We'll weld this into the tube. We'll do a weld here on the bottom, and that's exactly what we wanted. So now what we'll do is go ahead and tack this piece in. And last but not least is our bottom cup. This is what the bag mounts to. You'll want your drain ports to be on the back and the front. That way if you're aired up or aired down, if there's any moisture or water that gets in here, it will drain out of those ports right there. I'm going to tack these into place. Then I'm going to just give it a once over and then burn this thing in. Got our bottom cup in there, our back piece right here, this, and then here's how the front. What you do now is just weld all this in. Anywhere that you can weld it, you can weld from the top, inside of the cup, outside of the cup, wherever you feel like welding it at. After you get your control arm all welded together, here's the time that you could take out your old ball joint and put in your new ball joint. Use the spacer that it comes with to put into the hole to mark your hole to drill. And then after you drill, you just put the bolt in here and a nut on the back side and bolt in your ball joint the same way that the factory is, but it's a little bit shorter, and everything will be bolted in tightly and you'll be good to go.
So yesterday I finished off the day coating the control arms with some rust restore and then truck bed coating. And if you've watched any of my videos, you've seen me use this stuff a million times. I think it works great. The rust restore will help turn the rusty surface into a paintable surface. And then the truck bed coating has a slight texture and it leaves a really nice finish. Do not get the underbed coating. That stuff is trash, the rubberized stuff. Here's what I'm talking about right here. This is the Rust-Oleum Rust Reformer and then the Rust-Oleum truck bed coating. And I use this stuff on everything. And check these control arms out. They have a really nice finish on them. You can see like the texture that's on there. But these things looked rough. I mean, I just took some wire wheels and just some of these little flapper wheels from Benchmark abrasives and cleaned them up the best that I could, sprayed them down with the Rust Restore and then the truck bed coating. Here's what the other side looks like. Not the greatest welder. I can weld where it will hold, but I'm still working on how to make it look pretty. That was the first time I welded in like a year or two. I needed to get my machine set up better, but still working on that. Again, these are just to show you guys how to do it. I'm not actually gonna install those onto the truck. I'm only gonna do one side. But if you've got a frame and it's rough and you just wanna do the budget way, Rust Restore, truck bed coating, flapper wheels, wire wheels, and you can get a pretty nice finished product. So I'm happy with that. Our next step is to install our upper bag bracket. That's what this is right here. And you can see the upper bag bracket, the only difference is this little cutout right here. And the reason you have that cutout is because the upper cross member has a little design stamped in it, and that keeps you from hitting that and it not being flush. Here is the 60 to 62 cross member from the underside. This is where that upper bag bracket is going to mount. And the main thing that you'll notice is this part of the cross member. On the 63 all the way up to 87, this is cut out because there's a spring that goes in here. Well, on this truck, there's not. It's a torsion bar. So we actually have to cut, and I'll draw out with a marker here in just a second. We're basically making a triangle. We're gonna cut from here to here, there to there. So we're taking out basically the part of the upper bag bracket where the bag is gonna mount in and the air fitting is gonna be. So here's the upper bag bracket, and this is what I was talking about. There's a little stamp in here, that's the shape of that. And wherever the bag mounts right here and the air fitting goes, there's steel right there, so you can't mount it in. So by us cutting the section that I just showed, it's gonna allow us to mount the bag on here and have our air fitting going in to the cross member. So from the outside here, I'm just gonna cut in like this. Then I'll cut across like that. And then I'm gonna come down and cut like this. I'm just going to use an angle grinder and just cut straight cuts right here. And then we'll put the upper bracket back on there and see what it looks like. I didn't get it right on the line right here, but I think I got it close enough. Now we can take our upper bag bracket and just put it up there and make sure all of our bolts will line up. And again, there's not a perfect way to cut this. It's just cutting it enough that your upper bag bracket will allow your fittings and your upper bag to mount in. The best way, just hold it kind of in the place where you need it and then look up through here, and I can look straight up and there's nothing in the way. Next up, we're going to install the lower control arm, and then we're going to install one of these Slam Specialty SS7s. These are a SS7. It says it's somewhere on the bag right there. And these are part of the Sunny Special air ride kit. So it's my Simple C10 air ride kit, but you're getting 4 Slam Specialty bags and the 3/8 system with the height sensors. That's the only difference. You still get the X Series compressor, the tank, but you're getting upgraded bags with the Slam Specialty SS7s and SS6 for the back. You can see they're a little bit smaller for the back side, and that's what the Sunny Special is, just an upgraded Simple C10 air ride kit with the height sensors and Slam Specialty bags. This air ride kit, when this video comes out, will be available on simpleC10.co, so check out the Simple C10 air ride kit, the Sunny Special. Next, we're just going to mount our bag in here, and the air fitting goes toward the back, which we're only going to mount it in the center right here into the pocket. Then mount our upper bag bracket on here, and then I'm going to just jack it up to where it starts to compress. I'm going to leave these 2 bolts loose in the upper bag bracket. That way, I just want everything to be lined up. Whenever I drill the holes in this upper bag bracket, I want to make sure the bag compresses. Here's the upper bag bracket. Remember, you want the indentation toward the brake side, so it's toward the back of the truck. Whenever I get ready to actually bolt these into the bag, I like to use a washer and a lock washer, and then the bolt. Just using this for now. Put them in there hand tight so we can wiggle it around and adjust it as needed. I'm lifting up the whole truck over here, but the main thing I'm looking at is that this bag is centered in the cup and then centered on the bag bracket. It is. So that is great. There's nothing hitting right here. So after everything is lined up, we're just looking to see where this bag bracket, so the bag bracket is flush right here. That's perfect. But it is a hair back from the lip. Normally you would take this and go all the way to the lip, and if you did that, it would still probably be fine, but I like jacking it up like this because you see where it kind of ends up on its own. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to mark with a magic marker where the lip of that is, and I will start the bracket right where that mark is, just like that right there. And it's only a hair back, it's almost perfect, but by doing this, I know if I mount this upper bag bracket right there where it is, then I'm going to have lots of clearance around the bag and where the control arm is, and everything looks really good where it's at right there. You can see on my placement, my bolts are kind of all the way over to the side. So if you're doing this, that's why there's this loop in this, so you can move it side to side. VeloWorks thought through that to make sure everything's adjusted. On this, I do have these bolts adjusted all the way to the left, so it scoots the bracket over. This is going to be different for every setup depending on where you welded in your cup. That's why it's good to do this. Now I'm just going to take this upper bag bracket off of here, hold it up here with some clamps, and then mark my holes, drill, and then do the same thing over again. We'll jack it up and then put our bolts through, and that'll be it. Go ahead and kind of get them started. You'll notice that the upper bracket does not fit the contour of the cross member, but whenever you drill the holes and bolt it in, it will pull it all tight. Clamp this in somewhere that shouldn't get in the way of a drill, because you can do this a couple different ways. You can either clamp this in and drill through the hole and through the bracket, or you can just draw your holes and then drill the holes. I like to actually bolt this in and drill through the hole, because when you drill through the hole, you know that you're getting it perfect where you need it. So I'm just gonna align the front with those marks that I made. Show you guys what that looks like under there. Fits in there nicely. Now we unbolt it, bolt the bag back up, jack it up, and put our bolts back in there. And we're gonna be good. Look at that, it slid right in to where the holes were. It's exactly what we want, because that means I didn't have to force anything. Praise the Lord. Go ahead and get these started before it changes its mind. I went ahead and painted the shock bracket that bolted in right here, and I'm gonna test some of the drop shocks that I use normally on these builds to see if the shock will mount up and if I can compress the arm. That's all my jack's got, but you can see that's almost fully compressed. There's still a hair bit of room for the shock to go, and everything is clearing right here nicely. So this will definitely drop another inch and compress it all the way. So that's exactly, if the weight of the truck right now, the jack's maxed out and I'm just lifting the frame of the truck up. But if the weight of the truck was on there, it would push it down all the way to where almost this bolt touches the control arm, and then almost all the way compressed right here. So that is perfect. That's what we want. Close to the same of, 63 to 87
cupping your lowers. Takes the same shock. You just got to weld in the pocket a little bit differently, but the upper bag bracket, you've got to make a little bit bigger hole. Not bad at all though. So that's a wrap on the Torsion Bar Delete Kit. Hope you guys enjoyed that. Shout out to VelaWorks. My homies over at VelaWorks has been a great partner since the very beginning. They're one of the companies that I very first offered their parts on the website that hopped on to partnering with me on some of these builds. So thank you guys so much for the support. I have all their items available on my website, simpleC10.co. I've got the Torsion Bar Delete Kit, front do-it-yourself slam kits. I've got the rear notch that we're gonna install on this truck, the rear do-it-yourself slam kit, all the items that you're gonna need to bag your 60 to 62, or if you plan on changing out your front cross member to a 63 to 87 cross member, somewhere around there, I've got the front do-it-yourself slam kit that has the cups, the upper bag brackets, everything that you'll need. And I have all the videos for that too. I'm working on a square body air ride guide right now. So I'll have the 60 to 62, 63 to 72, and then the 73 to 87 air ride guides. And then I'll keep building on from there. So every day learning new stuff, every day trying to figure out better ways to do things. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I've got a lot of stuff coming up. So now I'm excited because we're gonna take off this cross member, the Torsion Bar Delete, all the stuff that I just did to show you the budget way to do it. We're gonna rip all that off. And then next episode, installing the Porter-built front drop member for the 60 to 62. I'm offering all the Porter-built items on my website as well. Nate at Porter-built reached out. He's a great partner now. He has sent me some parts. I've got everything on the website, and I can't wait to show you guys all the different things that I'm gonna do to this truck. This truck is gonna be special, and I love that it's just an old patina truck, pig nose, that's gonna have the LS, the Porter-built frame. It's gonna be really awesome. But we'll do the Porter-built drop member first, get the front complete, and then we'll move to the rear, and I'll start out the same way that I did this video. Is we'll start out doing the budget way to do the rear, and that will be with the VelaWorks notch, the rear do-it-yourself slam kit. We'll mount those Slam Specialty SS6s to the back trailing arms the same way I do all the trucks. We'll do that. I've got to trim a little bit of the frame right here, but I'll walk you through step by step how to do this on a budget. Then we'll turn around and we'll cut that frame in half and put a Porter-built rear back half. Man, I'm excited. It's getting to be car show season. I went to a C10 swap meet last week, and it got me fired up to come out here to get some work done on the truck and to get ready for car show season. So I'm wrapping up on the events page for the website that's gonna have a list of car shows coming up and the ones that I will be attending or have a booth at. That way you'll know where to find me, what shows I'm going to, and which ones I'm not gonna be able to attend this year. So come holler at me, comment, subscribe, all the things. I really appreciate it. Hopefully we'll have another episode next week with the drop member. We'll see. Thank you guys. Peace.